Well, is it enough to save them, eh? Let's begin. Now, of course, no one can blame Boris for staying unusually quiet during this whole election campaign, could they? So far, at least. Because let's face it, the bloke who many people, including me, see it as playing a big part in getting Boris ousted is, in charge of the whole party that Boris was once the leader of. And now, presumably, even Boris realises that the Tories are, let's just say, in a little or a massive amount of trouble, because the article says that Boris Johnson has warned that Labour faces a freak majority bigger than that of Sir Tony Blair and Margaret Thatcher combined, unless, of course, the Tories turn out to vote at the election. Well, let's face it, Boris, unfortunately, Rishi has more than likely peed a load of people off with some of the U-turns he's been doing. For instance, the whole bonfire of EU rules that was meant to come into place, and of course, that never actually did happen, did it? So it's things like that which hasn't really given Rishi or the Conservative Party too much credibility, eh? The former Prime Minister also claimed that Sir Keir Starmer gaining a supermajority would be dangerous and lead to the least merited election triumph in history, which, to be honest with you, yeah, I kind of agree with that, because let's face it, the only way, in my opinion, that Sir Keir Starmer is actually going to win this thing is not because anyone actually wants the guy in, but because of how badly the Conservatives has done, especially as Rishi's been in charge, as I was saying. And that is quite a big warning that Boris has done. So what's he going to do then? How is he going to enter the campaign? Is he going to be running to become an MP and maybe get his job back as leader? Well, unfortunately for many people, that is not the case. So what is he actually going to do? How is he entering the campaign to help? Well, it says that his remarks in the Daily Mail column come as he intervened in the general election campaign for the first time by starting to produce video endorsements for Tory standing for re-election, which obviously should give a little bit of a boost, but not as much as a boost as if Boris actually was running as an MP, I'm guessing. But apparently there was some criticism that Boris appeared to be choosing those former MPs who had been most loyal to him, and let's face it, you can't really blame him for it, as you've got to remember quite a lot of them kind of followed Rishi Sunak's lead by putting the boot into Boris by leaving, or resigning, or whatever you want to call it, thereby causing Boris's downfall. So therefore it's no wonder why Boris has chosen to support those who are actually loyal to him, well, at least for now anyway, because it does also say that a source told the Telegraph that every Conservative MP who has asked for a digital endorsement from him will get one. So it does make me wonder if Boris is thinking, well, hang on, I don't want Labour to get in, so yes, even though those people done that, I will give them endorsement. It just makes me wonder if that is the case for Rishi as well. I'm probably guessing not, eh? Either way, though, apparently, according to this, in recent days, there appears to have been a change of election strategy from the Conservatives. So what's going on then? Because lately, all I've heard is about a £2,000 tax uplift that Labour would bring in, according to Rishi, or that if we vote for reform, we'll be letting in Labour. That's all I've heard. So how have they changed the election strategy? Well, according to this, and now pushing the message, apparently, that Labour could win a huge majority that would be bad for democracy. So why would it be bad for democracy? I'm guessing because even though Labour have said that they will not take us back into the EU or rejoin the single market or customs union, I'm guessing they'll do some other thing to make us crawl back to their EU masters. Because let's face it, remember, Labour were once upon a time campaigning for a second referendum and therefore surely didn't agree with the democracy of the 2016 referendum and will, in my opinion, do their very best to overturn the result, even if it will take them a very long time to do it without us noticing. It'll be little bits by bits, I'm guessing. And Boris did actually give quite a worrying warning in his column, because he says that on current predictions, Labour will have 461 MPs and the Tories will only have about 80. And the overall majority to Sir Keir Starmer will be 292, which, let's face it, would wipe the floor with Boris's 80-seat majority 5 years ago, and will actually mean that all sorts of woke policies are more than likely to just get voted through. Not to mention, of course, the ones to do with EU, and more than likely, the green agenda will be ramped up as a result, eh? Although, admittedly, there is a chance I could be wrong. He added that the new PM will affect humility and claim that he is now the servant of people and so forth, but beneath the veneer of restraint there will be a bubbling, intoxicating delirium of power. I love the way Boris comes out with these words, and to be honest, I think he's right, and I think Sir Keir Starmer will let the power go to his head just a teeny weeny bit, eh? Boris, or Mr Johnson as the article says, then urged people to vote Conservative on polling day to stop it from happening. I personally think that a vote for reform would be better, because as Nigel often seems to say, that the Labour have won whether we vote Conservatives or not, so therefore surely a vote for reform will hopefully show the Conservatives that they do actually need to be Conservative, because they're currently being sort of a pale version of Labour, aren't they, with their policies, it seems. I mean, this whole thing that Penny Mordaunt was going on about, that they're a low tax party and things like that, but at the same time they are still keeping this tax threshold at just over 12.5 grand. We should be increasing that now, surely. And yes, I know it had to be frozen to 2026 and then 2028 as Jeremy Hunt with the Silent Sea put it up. But at the same time, I'm sure there are other things they could juggle to actually increase that threshold. And personally, I think it's about time that happened, because loads of people are paying tax which, let's face it, wouldn't actually need to be paying tax, and therefore that would be surely a huge tax cut which would benefit us all, eh? Apparently those video endorsements from Boris have already started to appear on candidates' social media accounts, and therefore obviously marks his direct intervention to 3 weeks into the campaign, or halfway through. And it is understood that around 24 MPs have been sent similar videos to the ones that have gone on social media already, so I'm guessing that Boris will soon be working his way through many more people in the party. And admittedly, I haven't seen many more appear on Facebook or Twitter, YouTube or whatever, but I'm sure they will all be up there very, very soon. But what about Boris himself? I mean, let's face it, politics runs through his blood, as I've often heard people say, so I personally do think he will be back properly as an MP one day. But whilst his children are still young, I'm guessing it won't be for this election, but maybe the 2029 one. Although, of course, we'll just have to wait and see.